Sovereignty, the King of Kentucky, who surged down the stretch to be crowned the winner of Kentucky Derby 151. Journalism, our Preakness hero, who ran through Baltimore and a couple horses like he owned it. Now they're meeting up at Saratoga for the Belmont Stakes. And it's not just them. We've got the buzz horse, Baeza, who's lurking. We've got Rodriguez, scratch from the Derby, is a real wild card here. And our Peter Pan winner, Hill Road, he's rising. They're all gonna meet up and the Graveyard of Champions is waiting for them. Facts and figures are gonna give you the winning edge. I give you the stats, you make the picks. Hi, it's Maura from Trifecta and a little bit extra. And we're gonna go horse by horse, metric by metric, angle by angle to help you find your Belmont Stakes winner. I made a video a week ago on Belmont angles, and if you haven't watched it yet, find it here because many of the angles I'm gonna be discussing are in that video. And here's the secret. It's not angles really based on the Belmont. It's based on the Travers, because if you haven't heard yet, the Belmont is not at the Belmont going 1.5 miles. It is at Saratoga going 1.25 miles. If you watched that video, let's do a quick recap of those angles so that they're fresh in your mind. First, post position is key. 4 through 7, golden. 8, iffy. And 1, the worst post position ever. Second angle, being forwardly placed, is key. Third angle, you really want some left in the tank at the end, so look for late speed. Fourth angle, Saratoga experience, a plus. Fifth angle, you really want to have distance, ability evidenced by prior races with a win or a place. What's the best prep race for the Belmont? Turns out the Derby has the edge. And last angle, having a top jockey that knows Saratoga, so top at Saratoga, to navigate you around the track can help you get to the finish line first. Now we got the angles. Are you ready to go horse by horse and find your Belmont winner? Let's go. Coming out of post position 1, the dreaded post position 1, is Chad Brown trainee, Hill Road. Hill Road will have Saratoga's leading jockey, Irad Ortiz, aboard. Now, why is post position 1 so dreaded at Saratoga? I looked back at the last 35 runnings of the Travers, and only two horses were able to win from post position 1. Arrogate and Holy Bull. You have to have a lot of speed and a clean break. And Hill Road, he's more of a closer. This horse has 5 starts, 2 wins, and 2 shows. The last time we saw him was May 10th at the Peter Pan, and in that race, he was way in the back, but he was able to finish first by 3/4 of a length. Now, he stumbled really badly at the start. He went to the inside to save some ground. He had to go really wide, but man, he turned those jets on, and he sailed past McAfee and Captain Cook for the win. And for that effort, he earned a 94 buyer. He did get some pace to run into, and his superpower is his late speed. But in this race, being forwardly placed is going to give you an advantage. He started his career over in Ireland on the turf. First effort, he dazzled by winning by 5 lengths in a mile race. Second effort, not so great, 7 furlongs and comes in 7th. Then he comes here to the US, to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, 1.16 miles. Top 2-year-old race. That race, 61-1 odds. He's stunned by coming in 3rd behind Citizen Bowling Gaming. And just like the Peter Pan, he turned on those jets and sailed past all the other horses, earning an 89 buyer. After that effort, he needed a little time for bone remodeling, and that delayed his training schedule. Brown sends him to the Tampa Bay Derby, 1.16 miles. Blinkers go on for the first time. Just like the Peter Pan, he got to the inside to save some ground, turned on those jets at the end, was in 7th, was able to get up to 3rd, but he needed more room. And for that, he got an 84 buyer. Then he goes to the Peter Pan, a mile and an eighth. He got the distance he needed and the faster pace to run into. For this race, he's got Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard, and I suspect we're going to see him come flying in late again at the end. Now let's look at how does he stack up on the angles. Out of the 7 angles, he's hitting 3. Post position, he's got the worst post position that we'd like to see. Running style, he's not really forwardly placed. Late speed, absolutely, check, he's hitting that angle. Prior Saratoga experience, none. Distance foundation, yes, he has a mile and an eighth and a win at that distance in the Peter Pan. Last race, however, was the Peter Pan, and we're giving the advantage to the Derby. And top jockey, absolutely. Irad really knows how to ride Saratoga. So will we see Hill Road come flying in late at the end and secure the win in the Belmont Stakes? Next up, we have the Kentucky Derby champ, Sovereignty, coming out of post position 2. Trained by Belmont, he'll be ridden by Junior Alvarado. 6 starts, 3 wins, 2 places. Let's start by saying Sovereignty is coming in with 5 weeks of rest after the Kentucky Derby. And he shipped right to Saratoga and has been training steadily at Saratoga. On May 3rd, we saw the best of Sovereignty. He ruled Kentucky Derby 151. Coming out of post position 18, first he clipped heels with another runner. Then he sat in the back of the pack around 16th to 17th position. Around the turn, he bumped another runner. But then we saw his superpower. He has this surging late speed down the stretch, comes down the stretch, duels with journalism, and wins by a length and a half and earns a 104 buyer. Let's talk about some of his earlier races. He announced himself in a big way. Where? At Churchill Downs in the G3 Street Sense, and that was key of finding him as the winner of Kentucky Derby 151. At a mile and a 16th, he was slow coming out of the gate. He was dead last, but then unleashed a monster rally, sailed past horses, and won by 5 lengths, earning an 87 buyer. He backs it up in the Fountain of Youth. Now, Gulfstream was really against his running style. It has a very short stretch, and even Bill Mott was like, I'm not really sure that his running style and this track fit well together. But boy, did he prove us wrong. In that mile and a 16th race, he comes out of the gate. He's very patient, dead last. River Thames was about to dance his way to the winner's circle, but here comes Sovereignty down the stretch, nails him, and earns a 95 buyer. Then he goes to the Florida Derby, a mile and an eighth. Again, that short stretch that he's got to overcome. Oh, and he's got another hardship. He's in post position 10, so he's starting way wide. The race starts. He's mid-pack. He drops to the back for that patient ride. Around the far turn, he tries that signature move, but he runs into some traffic and has to go wide and can only come in second behind Pan Street, a length and a quarter behind him. And he earns a 92 buyer. Now let's look at how Sovereignty fits the angles, and he checks off 5 of the 7. First, post position. Post position 2, not the worst, but not the best. Running style, no, he is not forwardly placed. He tends to be more than 5 lengths from the leader at the half pole. Late speed, absolutely, check. Prior Saratoga experience, yes, his very first race was at Saratoga. It was a 6 furlong race. He had to come out of post position 10, again wide, and that's not really good for the shorter distances here at Saratoga. He went 6 to 7 wide, and he closed well and finished 4th. Distance foundation, yes, he has the Kentucky Derby win. Prior last race, we are giving the nod to the Kentucky Derby, so checks that angle. And top jockey, yes, Junior Alvarado has one of the leading standings at Saratoga. So will we see Sovereignty be crowned the king of Belmont at Saratoga? Before we go to the next horse, if you're finding this information useful, if you're like, hey, where were you during Derby and Preakness? Well, guess what? I was right here. So hit like and hit subscribe. It doesn't end with the Belmont. I'll be doing one race a week for summer at Saratoga, and then also key races this summer. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and don't miss out on any of my horse racing coverage. Coming out of post position 3 is the real wild card, and that is Rodriguez, trained by Bob Baffert, who knows how to win both Belmont and Travers. And he'll be ridden by Mike Smith, who was on him for his Wood Memorial win. Now, this horse was supposed to be in the Kentucky Derby, but had to sit it out due to a foot bruise. He has 5 starts, 2 wins, 2 places, and 1 show. And what that means is he always finds his way to the board. Let's talk about his 2 wins. First one was a $60,000 mile maiden race at Santa Anita, where he was against Baeza, who's also in this race. And the other was the Wood Memorial, a 1 1/8 at Aqueduct. Now, what was key for both of those wins? Rodriguez went gate to wire. In fact, Mike Smith said after the Wood Memorial, what this horse needed was clean air. And I want you to take note of that. It's not that you can't win going gate to wire at the longer distances at Saratoga, but looking back over the last 35 Travers, only 3 horses have won going gate to wire. Let's look at some of his races in depth. He broke his maiden second time out, Santa Anita, $60,000 mile race. And in that race, he was the 2 to 5 favorite. Not only did he go gate to wire, he won by 7 lengths and earned 100 buyer, a triple-digit buyer on his second start. And that's impressive. Who did he beat that day? Baeza, who's also in this field. Then he goes to the Robert B. Lewis, another mile race. And here he's up against his stablemates, Citizen Bull and Madacat Road. Citizen Bull was in the Derby, and Madacat Road came in 4th in the Florida Derby. Had points to go to the Kentucky Derby, but sat it out. And in that race, he couldn't get up to Citizen Bull, and he finished 2nd with a 91 buyer. He then goes to the San Felipe, and who does he meet here? The Preakness winner, Journalism. In this race, he was stalking 3rd, tried to put the pressure on stablemate Barnes, but Journalism just sails past him, goes out east to the Wood Memorial at Aqueduct, a 1 1/8, and this is his best race yet. Bob Baffert removes the blinkers. He's coming out of post position 1. He gets a clean break. He sets the pace. He's on the inside, so he's saving ground. He brings them all around. Grande does try to put pressure on him, but he opens up by 3.5 lengths and earns a 101 buyer and the win. Mike Smith, masterful ride. Rodriguez was supposed to be in the Kentucky Derby, and I was kind of looking forward to seeing him there, but he had a foot bruise and had to sit it out. Now, he's been back in regular training, and I want you to note his workout going 7 furlongs for 1 minute and 24 seconds on May 23rd. He may be in really good form, but here's a stat I want you to pay attention to. Out of 29 runnings of the Belmont, I went back to 1995. I excluded 2020 when everything was upside down. Only 6 runnings had a horse that did not compete in May. And out of those 6 runnings, none have won the Belmont. Belmont winners come from horses who have run in May. It's just a stat, but something I want you to pay attention to. The best one that we've seen was Forte. Forte came in 2nd to Arcangelo in 2023. Now let's look at how he does versus the angles. Well, he's got 2. Post position 3, not the greatest, but not the worst. Running style, absolutely. He's got to be forwardly placed. But gate to wire, remember, only 3 horses in the last 35 runnings of the Travers ever went gate to wire. Saratoga experience? None. Distance? Yes. He's bi-authentic, and he has 1 race going 1 mile and 1/8 the Wood, where he was the winner. The long layoff is the most troubling aspect for me personally. Jockey Mike Smith, not a top jockey at Saratoga, but I will say this. He did give this horse the best ride in the Wood. I also want you to pay attention to his buyers. Look at his last 3 buyers. He's got triple-digit buyers, and he is progressing. So will Rodriguez be the first horse in the last 29 years to win the Belmont Stakes and not have a race in May? Coming out of post position 4 is a new entry on the Triple Crown Trail, and that is Uncaged. Trained by Todd Pletcher, he'll be ridden by top Saratoga jockey Luis Saez. Now this horse has 4 starts, 2 wins, but what I want you to note, both wins came on a wet track, and it could be raining on Saturday at Saratoga. The last time we saw Uncaged was May 10th in the Peter Pan. He came in 6th out of 9 horses. When he broke inward and bumped McAfee. Then he settles as the leader of the second pack. Going around the turn, he gets a cue, but he weakens and finishes 6th, earning a 79 buyer. Prior to that race, he was in a mile race at Aqueduct, wet track. He comes out of the gate. He bumps another runner. He's way in the back, but he has a strong close and wins with an 81 buyer. He's also got a win here at Saratoga on a wet track. Going 6 furlongs, he comes out of the gate. He's forwardly placed. He's got to go 6 wide, but he gets the win by a length and 3/4. How does he do with the angles? Post position 4, golden. Running style? He's not really forwardly placed in his last races, so doesn't meet that angle. Late speed? He has some, but he's not top in this field. Prior Saratoga experience? Yes, he's got that win. Distance foundation? He's by Curlin. He has the right dosage, but he's really lacking the foundation. He's got the 1 race, the Peter Pan, going 1 mile and 1/8, but he didn't win or place. He came in 6th, so he's lacking that key angle. The last race was the Peter Pan, and again, we're giving the nod to the Kentucky Derby. But top jockey, yes, with Luis Saez. The one thing I would notice is buyers are very low compared to the rest of the field, and he would have to show a lot of improvement here. Moving on to post position 5, we have another new entry to the Triple Crown Trail, and that is Crudo. Trained by Todd Pletcher, he'll be ridden by Johnny Velasquez. This horse, 3 starts, only 3 starts, and he's got 2 wins. So 3 starts means he's got a lot of upside, but he is lacking foundation. He has no starts at 1 mile and 1/8 distance or greater, and that is one of the key angles. Out of the last 35 runnings of the Travers, only 2 horses were able to win without having that distance foundation, and that was Arrogate and Golden Ticket. His last race was on Preakness Day, the Sir Barton Stakes, and this horse, he likes the lead. Both of his wins, gate to wire, and he won by a whopping 7 lengths. Now, before we get giddy, I want to point this out. Last 35 runnings of the Travers, only 3 horses have won going gate to wire. That would be West Coast, Arrogate, and Corporate Power. Now you see Arrogate in those 2 stats that I quoted on the last 35 runnings of the Travers. Could Crudo be the next Arrogate? Let's talk about the Sir Barton Stakes. In that race, he comes out of post position 1. He gets to the lead. He's setting the pace. He's on the rail. Invictus tries to make a move. Invictus was the favorite that day, but Crudo, he just cruises home and earns an 84 buyer. Prior to that race, he was in a 7 furlong race at Keeneland, and there, gate to wire wins by 7 lengths and earns an 82 buyer. The horses he beat that day, they didn't really wow coming back though. They earned buyers of 50s and 60s. This is a big step up in class for him. He has impressed, but he's got to prove that he can compete with the journalisms and the sovereignties of the world. Let's review Crudo to the angles, and he's checking the box for 3. Post position, absolutely. 5 is golden. Running style, yes, he is forwardly placed, but remember, he likes to go gate to wire, and he's going to get challenged by Rodriguez. Late speed, doesn't have top late speed in this race. Prior to Saratoga experience, no. Distance foundation. This is the one I really don't like. He doesn't have the foundation. He's by my favorite horse, Justify, and he has the dosage, but hasn't run a mile and an eighth yet, or longer. Last prior race, he's coming out of Preakness Day, and again, I'm giving the nod to the Derby. Top jockey, Johnny Velasquez, he is knocking on the door of top 10 in Saratoga standings for the 2024 summer meet, but he doesn't hit that top 10. But I will say he's been on him for all 3 of his starts. The number 6 horse is the horse that is catching my eye, and that is Baeza. He's trained by John Sheriffs and will be ridden by top jockey Flavien Prat. He is a $1.2 million purchase by Mackenzie, but that's not the real story. His dam is Puka. Puka was the dam of 2023 Kentucky Derby winner Mage and 2024 Belmont at Saratoga winner Dornick. Can she get another classic winner 3 in a row? I think that's some kind of record. His last race was the Kentucky Derby. He had to start from the outermost gate. He settled back in like 14th or 15th. Then when they spun for home, he bumped a couple other runners. He slid from the 5th path into the 9th path, but then he sailed past horses and came in oh so close to journalism, almost got 2nd place, was off it by a neck, and he earned a 102 buyer. Since then, he went back to Santa Anita to train just for the Belmont, and he's been training really well. 6 furlongs going a minute and 12 seconds. Now, Kentucky Derby wasn't the first time he met journalism. He actually met journalism in the Santa Anita Derby. In that race, he bobbled at the start. He was slightly off the pace, but then he took it to Citizen Bull. And when he put Citizen Bull away, he then had to duel journalism down the stretch, and he only lost by 3/4 of a length, and he earned a 101 buyer. Prior to that race, he was in a $60,000 mile maiden race, and he won by 4 lengths. Very similar running style, patient, and then makes a challenge around the turn, and he earned a 93 buyer. I want to point out he has 2 triple-digit buyers. Now let's look at how he does versus our angles. He hits 5 of the angles, and that's why he's catching my eye. Coming out of post position 6, that is golden. Running style, don't count the Kentucky Derby because that was not indicative of his running style. You look past that to his prior races, yes, he's mainly forwardly placed. Late speed, not top in this race. Prior Saratoga experience, no. Distance foundation, yes. He was on the board for the Kentucky Derby. He has 2 races at least a mile and an eighth, and his best finish was 2nd. Prior last race, Kentucky Derby, check. Top jockey, absolutely. So will Baeza, the buzz horse, pull this one out, win the Belmont Stakes, and make his damn Puka history making? Coming out of post position 7, our Preakness winner and our morning line favorite, Journalism. Journalism is trained by Michael McCarthy and will be ridden by Umberto Rispoli. And Umberto Rispoli has been on him for all of his wins. This is a $825,000 purchase by Curlin. Remember, Curlin, 3rd in the Derby, won the Preakness, 2nd in the Belmont. This horse has 7 starts, 5 wins, count them, 5 wins, 1 place and 1 show, always on the board and very impressive. Can this horse wheel back in such a short period of time? He was 2nd in the Derby, first in the Preakness. Did you see that ride in the Preakness? And now he's coming back 3 weeks later for the Belmont. Can he do it? Well, his owners and his trainers between the Derby and the Preakness said, let's let the horse tell us if he'll be ready to run in a 2-week period. They waited. They said the horse was ready, and boy, was he ready. That was an incredible ride. Now, again, they were saying, we're just going to wait for the Belmont. We're going to see, is the horse ready? And at the last minute, they entered him. So they're saying he's ready. However, out of the last 29 runnings of the Belmont, I want you to note only 10 winners, 34%, came from Preakness or Preakness undercard. And here's another stat. If you discount our Triple Crown winners in 2015, American Pharoah, and 2018 in Justify, you have to go all the way back to 2008 to Datara on the undercard to find a winner. So it's less common, but journalism, he's a monster. Let's also talk about the connection between Umberto Rispoli and this horse. Now, this horse responds to Umberto Rispoli's cues, and Umberto has said this is the smartest horse he has ever been on. I mean, we saw this in the Preakness ride, right? He was 5 lengths back from Gosker. It did not look like this horse was going to win the race. There was no daylight between Clever Again and Goal Oriented, but somehow he managed to go between both of those horses. Now, he got checked when he bumped those horses, and again, it looked like no possible way he was winning with 1/8 of a mile to go, but he did it. He nailed Gosker at the end with a 98 buyer. Now let's look at his Derby run. There, he had some questions he had to answer. He had the best speed. He was a monster horse. He was a morning line favorite coming out of a very good gate, post position 8. But the question was, could he handle traffic? He had been in very small field sizes. So gates open. Well, first he bumps another runner. Then when Citizen Bull comes over, he gets stacked up behind Citizen Bull. He goes to the rail to save ground. He swings wide. He begins picking off runners, and then he had to duel Sovereignty down the stretch. Sovereignty did best him, but he earned a 102 buyer. Prior to the Derby, he had 3 graded stakes entries that were Derby prep races, and he was earning buyers, triple-digit buyers. San Felipe, 108. Santa Anita Derby, 102. Let's talk about the Santa Anita Derby, 1.1 1/8. Very small field, and somehow he found trouble in that race too. He got shuffled behind Westwood. He bumped into Barnes, but at the end, he pulled it out with a rally. He went and dueled Baeza and was able to win with a 102 buyer. How does journalism do with our angles? Well, starting with post position, 7 is a great post position. Check 1 angle. Is he forwardly placed? Well, if you look at his races prior to the Derby, absolutely he meets the angle. But the Derby and the Preakness, not so much. In fact, in the Preakness, he was 5 lengths off of Gosker at the half pole. He's going to have to be more forwardly placed like those prior races to check off this angle. In terms of late speed, absolutely. Check. Prior Saratoga experience, none. Does he meet the distance test? Absolutely. 2nd in the Derby, 1st in the Preakness. The race prior to the Belmont is the Preakness, and we're giving the edge to the Derby. But remember, the Preakness is a runner-up prep for the Belmont. Jockey, not a top jockey for Saratoga. But as I mentioned at the start, this jockey and horse are so well connected. The other thing I really want you to take note of are these 3 triple-digit buyers. And in a tough race with a lot of trouble, where he basically got stopped, that being the Preakness, he not only won it, but he got a 98 buyer. And coming out of post position 8, we have Heart of Honor. Heart of Honor is a British-bred horse by Honor AP. Trained by Jamie Osborne, he'll be ridden by regular rider Safi Osborne, who is Jamie Osborne's 23-year-old daughter. This horse has 7 starts, 2 wins, 4 places. That means 6 times in the exacta. Now, all starts have been in Dubai, except for the last start, which was the Preakness, and also the time he did not make it into the exacta. That day, not his day. Fractious at the gate, off a step slow, lacked speed, and came in 5th out of 9 horses with an 86 buyer. Looking at his prior races, never worse than 2nd. Let's talk about the wins. First win came in a mile race in December, where it was a $47,000 mile race, and he won by 4.5 lengths. Then goes into a $47,000 stakes race, mile race. Again, wins by 2.5 lengths. Next 3 races, he's runner-up, but he kept getting closer and closer. First was a G3 mile race, where he lost by 1.5 lengths. Then goes into a $217,000 stakes race and loses by a head. Then goes to the UAE Derby, where he meets up with Admire Daytona and loses by a nose. He did qualify for the Kentucky Derby with that effort, but his trainer said it was too much, going from Dubai to England to America, decided to sit it out, went to the Preakness instead, and we see what happened there. How does Heart of Honor do with our angles? Well, first, post position 8 isn't so great. Remember at Saratoga, on the longer distances on the dirt, you have that lead up to the first turn. And if you're starting on the outer edges, you may be caught wide. In terms of running style, not really forwardly placed. When we looked at the Preakness, he was 8.5 lengths off the leader at the half pole, but remember, Heart of Honor had those issues. In terms of late speed, yes, absolutely, check. That is one angle. No Saratoga experience. In terms of stamina, another angle he's checking. He's got 3 races, at least 1.125 miles with a best finish of 2nd. His last race was the Preakness, and we're giving the nod to the Derby. Jockey, not a top Saratoga jockey, but Saffie Osborne has been on this horse. Now it's your turn. Drop me a comment below. You know I want to hear from you. Who do you like for the Belmont Stakes? Also, hit like, but most of all, hit subscribe. This doesn't end with Belmont. I will be doing 1 race a week for Saratoga and some other key summer races, and then we start all over again with the Derby prep races and the Breeders' Cup. I'm going to be at Belmont at Saratoga. If you see me, come up and say hi. I would love to meet you. But most of all, let's make sure we sashay away with our money. Until next time, cheers.